1 second here. See that okay?
Yep, everything looks good. I think, Kelly, we're ready when you are.
Okay, sounds good. So at this time, we're going to call the meeting to order with our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll take a moment of silence. We need to remember those who are out working on the lines and roads and all that at this time. Tammy, could you do a roll call of the members, please?
Harry Armagost,
Here.
Megan Dreher,
Here.
Brady Fight,
Here.
Diane Page,
Here.
Jeff Powell, Corey Sherman,
Here.
Jameen Stump,
Here.
Eric Sundling,
Here.
Kelly Terwilliger.
Here. And I kind of texted you all, but I'll let you know I'm at home and with no electric, so I'm doing this off my phone. So hopefully things cooperate with me tonight. If you hear my dogs barking, I may have to mute for a minute, but I'm sitting here under candlelight, so hopefully my electric comes on soon. So at this time, do we have any public participation this evening? Not hearing of any. Then we'll go to our presentations, and we had Heather Scott last week. I think at this point we have Mr. Mark Turnley, who's going to talk about the audit. So I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you very much. I noticed on that the minutes or the agenda, I think it said, just as I was sitting here looking at the screen, it said 6/30/20. It's going to be obviously for the year ended 6/30/21. So I don't know if that's something that needs to be updated for the sake of the minutes or not, but I just happened to notice that as I was looking at the screen.
Thanks, Mark. We'll correct that.
Thank you.
Board members, thanks for having me here this evening. The document that Aaron was kind enough to pull updated for this past Friday is my annual management letter that I present to the board each year. And I use this document. It's a 5-page document, but go through it rather quickly. But the purpose of this is to streamline the results of what is contained in the body of the actual audit report itself, the thicker document, for the sake of the board, so they can look at the highlights, the more salient points, as I like to say, with regard to how the year ended, and provide some comparative information for prior years. Just a couple comments, and I'm not going to move away from this letter, but just for the sake of the board, just a couple comments about the actual audit report itself. We have issued this year what we have issued for the school district in the past, what is known as an unmodified opinion. And basically what an unmodified opinion means that the information contained in the body of the audit report is presented in conformity with the rules and regulations of our profession, and there are no departures from that. So as I always tell the board each year, that's a good thing. That's the type of opinion that you want to have to go out to third-party readers of the audit report, and in particular, PDE. Following that section of that thicker audit report, I always call my board members' attention. There's a section still in the Roman numeral section of the thick audit report. It's called the Management Discussion and Analysis. And I believe that's on Roman numeral pages 4 through 11. The reason I just briefly call that to your attention is because that particular part of the audit report is much like this letter that I'm going to go over here shortly, is a synopsis of how the district did for the year. This is something that the public is now going to see. and PDE of how the district did for the year, not only for the year under audit, which was the 2021 fiscal year, but also provide some comparative detail 1920 fiscal year versus 2021 fiscal year and the reasons for the increases and decreases and things of that nature. So again, being a former board member myself, I know you have a lot of information to read and digest in the course of the fiscal year. So that's really a quick go-to section of the audit report to get a good feel for the financial results for the year. I'll turn your attention back to this letter on the screen. The first thing I like to do each year is obviously the most important fund of the district is your main general operating fund. That's the fund that the board is most accustomed to and budgeting for on an annual basis. And what I show you here at the bottom of this first page is a 5-year history of the general fund's total fund balance at the end of each fiscal year. And as you can see at the bottom of this table, the 2021 year ended up with $3,693,791. Now that's total fund balance. And there's going to be an important distinguishment between this and what I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I wanted to see you to see the total fund balance and see the change from the last fiscal year. You notice that big change in the 18-19 year, that column there. I just at the bottom explained it. If you recall, those of you that have been on the board for a while, that you expended about $1,700,000 of general fund monies toward the district's energy savings project. You used general fund monies to do that. And that's why there was such a huge drop in fund balance during that time period. And then over the last 2 years, you can see how the fund balance has changed again hopefully in the plan that the district wants it to use and manage your general fund properly in relation to your budget. Now keep this in mind. This is the overall general fund balance. When I take you to the top of page 2 of this synopsis, your general fund balance is broken down into components. One, the overall fund balance that we're looking at here. And here is a 5-year history of a portion of the fund balance, which is known as unassigned, which is available for general operations. The main 2 components of your fund balance, the number that we looked at on the previous page, and this is the unassigned portion, and then the portion that is assigned by the district for various purposes. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. The reason this schedule is important, and I show it to the board, this unassigned portion, is because our profession, and more importantly, PDE, looks at this balance as it relates to your upcoming year's budget. And so in the first paragraph under this table, I just mentioned to you that this number, $1,566,437, which is the unassigned portion of the June 30, 2021 general fund balance, is approximately 9.5% of the current year budget year that you're in of that overall budget. And that amount is important because the state's rules and regulations say that in order for the district, if you were ever in a position where you had to raise millage above and beyond the state index increase that they allow you every year. They allow you to raise your millage based on a state established index on an annual basis. But if you ever had to raise your millage for whatever purpose beyond that index, you have to pass a budget whereby your unassigned fund balance, this number that we're looking at now, is at or below a certain percentage. For the Allegheny Clarion Valley School District, that percentage is 9.5%. So that's exactly where we put your unassigned general fund balance as of 6/30/2021. Anything, the difference between this number and the $3 million that we talked about on page 1, as I mentioned, is assigned for particular purposes. And when you scroll down to the bottom of this particular page, you will see all of the various reasons for monies being assigned. The amount assigned in the very last sentence is $1 million $927,354. So you can see a portion is assigned for PESERS rate increases for your pension plan, healthcare increases, additional staffing and staff increases, parking lot improvements, and the largest amount that is assigned, and a lot of my school districts, two of the main categories that they assigned, that I have found that they assign monies for, is budgetary shortfall, like you have going into the next fiscal year and or fiscal years, or capital improvements. It all depends on whether they have a separate capital project fund established or if they spend capital type project money out of their general fund. Each school district is different, but in your particular case, the bulk of the assigned is for budgetary shortfalls going forward of $1,473,580. So you could have a higher unassigned fund balance if you wanted for general purposes, but in so doing, if you did that, you'd be above that threshold, that mandate that the state wants you to have of 9.5% in order to raise millage above their index. So, you know, the district would have to make that decision, but it doesn't appear that there's a need in the short term anyway to do that. And that's why you've prudently assigned the excess above that amount for these particular purposes. As we move on to page 3 of this synopsis, I just, again, for the information of the board, give you a 5-year history of the general fund revenues and the general fund expenditures at the district. So the top table shows you for the 2021 year that your overall general fund revenues decreased about 1.2%, about $176,000 from the last fiscal year. And again, you can see the history over that last 5-year period. Expenditures at the bottom of this particular page for the 2021 year, you can see that they were very close to the 1920 year, dropped only $33,000, which on your budget is very close in terms of expenditures from one year to the next. And again, in the middle of this table, you see some rather significant increases and decreases, and that all goes back to what I originally told you at the beginning of my presentation, when the district used general fund monies for its energy savings project. So that's why you have those two significant blips on this general fund expenditure table. But everything seemed to normalize between the 1920 and the 2021 year, even in light of COVID and the effects of COVID on the district, all districts for that matter. Only a minor difference of $33,000. On the top of the next page, I turn your attention to see how the board and management overall did when comparing actuals to budget. Once again, all this information that we're talking about is within that thicker audit report when you get a chance to go over that. But I highlighted, gave you 3 bullet points just to give you the top level numbers where you ended for the year. The first bullet point simply says that your general fund budgeted revenues exceeded actual by about $31,000. So again, on your size budget, that's pretty close. That's good budgeting in terms of budget to actual revenues. Now, just like the second bullet point, when I talk about budgeted expenditures, there are pages in your thicker audit report that are dedicated to comparing budget to actual numbers, not only for revenues, but for expenditures as well. And they go on a more line item by line item basis. And I refer to at the bottom of this little section of general fund budget, I just simply say that the budget versus actual information in summary form is on page 7, but in a little bit more detail on page 47 and on pages 48 through 51. So again, it's a good learning tool to see where you were up and down for the fiscal year with regard to budget. Now, this second bullet point talks about expenditures. Budgeted expenditures exceeded actual by $387,000. So if you had to be on one end of the spectrum, that's where you want to be, where your actual expenditures are under budget and you were in the constraints of your budget. The main area where actual expenditures were under budget was in the overall functional area of instructional cost. Of that $387,000 under budget, $282 of that was related to instructional cost savings with respect to your budget. Now, the third bullet point simply says, as a refresher to the board, when you did your budget for the 2021 year, you budgeted to expend excess expenditures over revenues of $1,225,000. That's what you anticipated doing for the 2021 year. However, as we saw at the beginning of this presentation, in actuality, the actual operating results, expenditures exceeded revenues only by $869,000. So you did not get to the level that you had anticipated of $1,225,000. So again, that's a good thing, as I like to say. At the bottom of this page, where I have overall operating results, the school district's audit report really has two sets of numbers within it. It has the budget and actual numbers that we look at on an annual basis and the board is most familiar with, and deals mainly with the fund balance, which again is a concern for all of my school districts in the proper management of the district's general fund. But down here, there are another set of numbers that are required to be in your report, and they're basically akin to a corporate balance sheet, where we look at the long-term view of the district by adding in long-term assets like your buildings and equipment, and also your long-term liabilities. And we take a look at the difference between the two fiscal years. And if you look at the governmental activities, not the food service operations, but the governmental activities, you can see at 6/30/2021, we have a deficit net position, corporate consolidated balance sheet, as I like to say, of $8,782,000 compared to $7.4 million last year. And the question always is, well, Mark, you just told us we had almost $4 million in general fund balance, and now you're saying here on this presentation that we're showing a deficit of $8,782,000. Well, we talked about two sets of financial statements, and the main difference between the two is in this particular balance sheet here, the reason we show the deficit, and those of you that have been on the board for a while, you recall me saying this each year, is there are certain liabilities that all governmental organizations have to show on their books, in particular Pennsylvania school districts, that cause your net position or your fund balance, if you will, on a long-term view, which is what we're looking at now, to go from a plus to such a significant negative. And the main two culprits to that are the district has to show as a liability their proportionate share of the PSERS liability at the state level. And for the Allegheny Clarion Valley School District, that number at June 30th, 2021 is $20,237,000. So you can see having a liability like that on your books can easily take you from the plus number that we talked about on the short-term view for the general fund to this corporate balance sheet, if you will, this negative number of $8,700,000. Now, the good thing is you don't have to turn around and write a check to PSERS tomorrow for $20 million. It's more of an accounting requirement that says you must recognize that liability on your books. There's also a large liability, not nearly as large as your PSERS, but it's known as the Opeb liability. It's the other post-employment benefit liability. That's the actuarially calculated liability for benefits you have contractually obligated yourself to through your collective bargaining agreements to your staff. And that number is $3,782,000 of a liability. So you can see when you add those two numbers into the equation, that's why you're in this negative position that we look at on the overall perspective. At the bottom of this table, I take a look at just solely the food service operations. And you can see again, the net position for the food service operations is in a negative position as well. And the reason for that is you obviously have staff that are in your food service operations. And unfortunately, a portion of that PSERS liability and the Opeb liability have to be allocated to your food service operation. So when you look at this from this perspective, somewhat distorts your view because of those significant liabilities being added to the picture. When you look at the change in net position for the food service operations, though, that it basically is a fancy name for profit or loss for the year. And you can see this year we had a loss of almost $22,000 compared to a loss of $25,000 in the last fiscal year. What I find interesting is the next three lines that talk about food service operating revenue and expenses in the federal and state subsidies. You can see that your operating revenue is down approximately $48,000, and that's because of the nature of COVID and what that did for the point of service collections, where the students would actually go into the cafeteria and pay funds, or the adults would purchase a la carte. You can see the effect there. But in this COVID environment that we're in, that changed the National School Lunch Program, where you had a significant increase in the federal and state subsidies for providing the students lunches. So you can see that although you had that drop off in revenue, cash in hand at the point of sale, you had a significant increase in federal and state subsidies to make up for that, of about $156,000 for the year. Your overall operating expenses, about a $28,000 increase from the prior fiscal year. Those numbers aren't a little bit affected by COVID. It's more your revenues that you see the significant change from one year to the next. Looking at the top of the next page, once again, these are what I've just talked about, the reasons for the deficit net position on that, what I call a corporate type balance sheet, the amount of PSERS liability and the amount of Opeb liability. And then just note to you again that the net loss in the cafeteria fund between the two fiscal years. Once again, what we've already talked about just previously. In addition to the financial numbers that we've been talking about each year, we not only have to do a financial audit, but we also have to do a compliance audit. And the reason that is because of the level of federal monies that you receive during the course of the year. When you expend over $750,000 for the year in federal monies, that necessitates a compliance audit on a particular program or programs of our choosing, depending on various criteria. And with the influx of COVID money in various areas from the Department of Education, that will be a significant factor in the not only the 2021 year, but the 22 and 23 year as well. We'll be taking a little compliance there. But for the 2021 year in particular, we chose the National School Lunch Program because that still had the most amount of federal dollars being spent for the year. So we took a look at that. And in the back of the thick audit report, we have reports telling the results of our compliance audit. And what PDE will see is that we had no findings of non-compliance or any type of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies with regard to the operation of that program for the 2021 year. So again, that's the type of report you want to have when PDE is receiving the ending results of your audit for the 2021 year. I think for the most part, everyone, those are the highlights of the audit report, trying to as succinctly as I could for your sake, so you could see the most important points I thought with regard to the numbers for the year. But if anybody has any specific questions that I can answer, or hopefully I can answer them this evening, please feel free to ask it at this point. I'll be more than happy to answer them if I can.
Not hearing any. Does anyone have any questions for Mark? Well, thank you, Mark. You do a good job as always, filling us in on what we need to know. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
You, everyone. Thanks for having me here this evening. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
You
Mark.
too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
A couple housekeeping things before we start. Since we're virtual due to the weather, what we're going to try and do when we're voting, when you're making a motion, I'm going to do what we usually do and assign someone to do each section. So we'll know who's making the motion by that. But when you second the motion, would you please state your name so that Tammy can have that for our minutes? And we will vote aye or yes on the motion as usual. And then if anyone is voting no or abstaining, would you please state your name so that that information is good for our minutes. Last thing is we will do a roll call vote for the Career Center vote and as well as the professional contract vote. We need to do a roll call for that. Any questions? Okay, I think we're ready to go on. Are there any board concerns at this time? Not hearing any. Let's look at the consent agenda. Is there any item that you would like pulled from the consent agenda to vote on separately?
Just keep in mind that there's one additional conference in there from Minnie Logue and Bill Jordan to take a group of students over to SRU. And it was submitted on time, but I was out of the office, so it didn't make it to the workshop. And there's just a cost of the bus going over there to bring the kids for a tour.
Okay, thank you, David. Not hearing any requests to have something removed. I need someone to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Diane Page, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Carrie, second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those, any discussion that we need to have? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Megan, could you do finance and purchase for us this evening?
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and lump together A through H and make a motion to approve those.
Second, this is Corey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Do we have a cafeteria report tonight? I didn't see.
Now, Stacy's not with us this evening. She's struggling to get some substitute cafeteria workers. I did communicate with her earlier, and I believe there is a report within your packet, but she's not with us tonight, Megan.
Okay. All right. So letter J, we have consideration to accept the presentation by Mark Turnley, CPA, the single audit for the year ended on June 30th, 2021. So moved.
Diane, second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter K, consideration to approve a resolution wherein AC Valley School District will limit the tax increase to the state index of 4.6% as attached. So moved.
Diane, second.
Okay, just a reminder, this is not saying that we're raising taxes at all. It's just saying that if we do raise, we will not increase above the index of 4.6%. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter L, consideration to approve the budget timeline for the 2022-2023 school year as attached. So moved.
Second, Carrie.
Okay, any discussion? I believe David talked to us about that last week at the workshop, just the dates then, that everything has to be completed by to be in compliance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter M, consideration to approve the following 3 state contracts for bidding purposes. PA, State, PE, PPM, CoStars, and US Communities. So moved.
Diane, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Going to put together N and O. Consideration to approve the donation from Mattern CPA LLC and also from the Emlenton Brew House for the high school art room in the amount of $100 each as a thank you for painting the business's windows for the holidays. So moved.
Diane, second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Can we send a thank you, Tammy, for those? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
P, consideration to approve the list of items to be deemed as old and or unusable technology items from the high school and elementary as attached. So moved.
Diane, second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Q, consideration to approve the Harris School Solutions Written Information Security Program Policy, WISP, and agreement between Harris School Solutions and Allegheny Clarion Valley School District beginning January 18th, 2022 through December 31st, 2024. Costs per year are as follows. The 2021-2022 school year is $10,200. 2022-2023 school year is $5,871. And the 2023-2024 school year is $6,047.13 as attached. This program will be paid for under the ESSER 3 set aside money. So moved.
Second, Carrie.
It's been moved and seconded. And as we talked, this is the software that allows us to keep a close watch on data and figure out instructional needs for students. So everyone in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone need to abstain? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to personnel at this time. Diane, would you do personnel?
Sure. A, consideration to approve the request from Austin Craddy upon receipt of all appropriate documentation to be a volunteer with the 2021-2022 boys basketball team. So moved.
Second, Carrie.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
B, consideration to approve the request from Misty Heater upon receipt of all appropriate documentation to be a volunteer nurse with the 2021-2022 cheerleading squad. So moved.
Second, this is Corey.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
C, consideration to approve hiring Caleb Penny upon receipt of all appropriate documentation as assistant junior high boys basketball coach for the 2021-2022 season at a supplementary salary of $1,521. So moved.
Eric, seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
D, consideration to approve hiring Amber Sanders upon receipt of all appropriate documentation as a temporary until the end of 2021-2022 school year, 3 hour per day cafeteria worker contingent upon a 60 workday probationary period at an hourly rate of $14.61. Upon completion of the 60 workday probationary period, the hourly rate will be $15.61 per hour. All required paperwork is on file with the district office. So moved.
It's Jameen, I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
E, consideration to approve transferring Chada Ritchie from a temporary full-time ARP ESSER 3 grant-funded child-specific aid to a full-time district-paid child-specific aid retroactively effective December 13th, 2021. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
F, consideration to approve temporarily transferring Michelle Eiler from a part-time child-specific aid to a temporary full-time ARP ESSER 3 grant-funded child-specific aid for the remainder of the 2021-2022 school year, retroactively effective December 13th, 2021, and for the 2022-2023 school year. This temporary full-time position contingent on receipt of grant funds will be paid using the ARP ESSER 3 grant money and is to help support student achievement, social, emotional learning. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
G, consideration to approve hiring Beth Pence as a part-time 3.5 hours per day child-specific aid at an hourly rate of $12.57 per hour. All required paperwork is on file with the district. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
H, consideration to approve correcting the following approved at the December 1st, 2021 voting meeting. 1, start date from December 16th, 2021 to December 13th, 2021. And 2, prorated salary of $23,855.96 to the corrected prorated salary of $28,679.20 for Courtney Rice as a temporary ARP ESSER 3 grant funded K through 12 school counselor. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I, consideration to approve advertising for a substitute school nurse. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
J, consideration to retroactively remove Emily Faust from the Clarion Tax Collection Committee and adding Andrea Stewart. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
K, consideration to approve the professional staff contract ACVEA dated July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025 as attached. So moved.
It's Janine, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, not hearing anything. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Eric abstains.
Okay. Tammy, did you hear Eric Sundling is abstaining from the vote?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll probably have to have him fill out a sheet at the next meeting, correct?
Yes, I will.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right. It's been moved and seconded. We voted. Motion carries. We're ready to move on to instructional services. Corey, could you do that for us this evening?
Yep, I can do that. All right, letter A, elementary report.
Hi, everyone. So to start off my report tonight, I want to talk about what we're doing now that we've entered the third quarter, which started on Friday. We are in the midst and almost finished with our middle of year benchmark testing in our ELA and math areas. In ELA, we're very close to being finished with mostly makeup tests and some kindergartners left to test. This data was actually shared with grade level teachers today during in-service by our reading and intervention specialists. Mr. Heil's math middle of year testing is also well underway and will be reviewed with teachers in the near future when that is completed. We use this data to determine our tier 2 and 3 interventions and what students receive those, what supports they would most benefit from during their when or what I need times and their pull out time with our specialists. We are also getting ready to start our third quarter after school program, hopefully next week if we get all of the transportation details worked out and parents to respond. The program will run Mondays through Thursdays from after school until 4:30 in the elementary library. So far, I have about 4 or 5 teachers signed on to help, so we hope to have about 20 to 25 students, trying to keep that student to teacher ratio 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. The participation from students will be by invite only, and we're gearing it towards our tier 2 students who need just that extra little bit of support to get to tier 1. This determination is made using that beginning of year and middle of year test score data that we have, as well as the progress monitoring data from our classroom and specialists, or classroom teachers and specialists. The program will offer research-based interventions tailored to student needs. Also, our students who achieved second quarter goal for earning Starbucks will receive a classroom prize. We will pull that quarter 2 classroom winner tomorrow, hopefully. And the lucky winner's classroom will win a sled riding party for their classroom. We figured it was perfect timing given the current status of the weather. The Superstar Luncheon for quarter 2 will be held this Friday. I'll be hosting 4 students at this quarter's luncheon: Nolan Smeretsky, Brooke Bartmus, Bo Minix, and Beckett Conway. These students are our star students who were nominated specifically by their teachers for going above and beyond our expectations for our students in our behavior program. Mrs. Rice, our new counselor, has been busy scheduling second semester programs with our community partners. The first of these, which is called Too Good for Violence, began last week, and that's presented through Clarion County SAFE, the Stop Abuse for Everyone organization. Our friends from SAFE will be talking with 5th grade students over the next 8 weeks, and actually started last Tuesday. And they will be speaking about long and short-term goal setting, friendship skills, problem solving, and conflict resolution skills. Programs for the other grades are also planned for later dates this semester and spring. And lastly, our girls basketball programs started up Saturday, January 15th for our girls in 3rd and 4th grades and 5th and 6th grades. 3rd and 4th grade girls go from 10 to 11 and the 5th and 6th from 11 to 12. Coach Gibson and his varsity girls basketball player assistants would welcome anyone who was not able to attend the first session this past Saturday to join them this coming Saturday in the elementary gym at the appropriate times. And Art Club also got underway last week. Many 5th and 6th grade students stayed after with Mrs. Namelli last week to further explore the world of art. And I just wanted to call her out and say how much I appreciate her efforts in volunteering her time to offer this program to our students. And that's all I have for this week, or this month, I guess.
All right, thanks, Lori. All right, letter B, secondary report.
Good evening, everybody. Last week, I met with the 8th through the 11th grade classes regarding the graduation project that was board approved at the December board meeting. There are many questions from the students and probably will be many more questions as we work through some of the specific details of how this project will work. Tonight's board action on that Slippery Rock University trip is actually one of the things to help support the parts of that project regarding career and college readiness. I also met virtually today with the teachers to discuss their role as mentors for the students in grades 9 through 12. We are going to start that this year. I plan on setting up a meeting with the teachers as mentors with their students that they've been assigned every other month to be able to track the progress of students working on their graduation project at each grade level, as well as just build relationships with the students so that they have somebody that they can anchor to for guidance throughout school. The website has also been updated. I'd like to thank Mr. Howe for that. So if you check on the high school tab at the far left at the bottom, you'll see that it has graduation project put there, and all the tabs are working and the links are working as well. This Wednesday, January 19th, in the high school, the Give Club will be having a blood drive. In order to earn scholarship money, they need 30 donors at the drive this time. It's hard for us to do in such a small school. As an incentive, any donor during the month of January will be entered to win one of 4 $5,000 prepaid Visa cards. The talent is low on blood and needs donors, and so we're asking the community to please come up and donate blood. In PBIS news, if you would like to refer to the attachment that Dr. McDevitt sent you in an email, our last meeting, we looked at the number of write-ups in terms of the percentage of students, and it's interesting to see some of the reports. Just as a reference, to let you know, PBIS considers a regularly, normally functioning school to have a triangle that meets 80% of the students in the general population with most school rules. The next tier would be 15%, and then finally 5% for the extreme need students. Our triangle, if you look at that, it shows the percentage of students with number of write-ups in the big green section as 87%. Also around 11% in the yellow and only 2% in the red. So PBIS is having a positive impact on the whole entire student body. If you look down through more of that information, the referrals by day, this shows the average number of referrals each day in each of the months, October being the highest one so far. Under referrals by grade, the middle school student seems to accumulate the most referrals, and those referrals are generally for missing assignments. I'd like to turn now to some athletic updates. If you haven't heard, our AC Valley Cheer Squad won the District 9 title for co-ed cheerleading. They will travel to Hershey for the state competition on January 28. Please, if you see any of those students, wish them lots of luck. Our basketball teams are also in full swing for the season. Today was actually the first cancellation so far this winter, and hopefully we won't have any more. Attached also to the email Dr. McDevitt sent you was the proposed uniforms for the co-op for football with Union. The team will be requesting budgetary funds for them in the upcoming athletic budgets. So look for that in the future as well. And that's the secondary report for January. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have a federal programs report?
I don't have anything new to report with the federal programs.
Okay. District report.
Okay, thanks, Corey. I just wanted to provide an update this evening about the football field. As you remember, back in December, we did have a number of coaches talk about the needs, and that's something that the district looked at back in the 07-08 school year, and there's definitely a need. Just keep in mind that if we are going to act on this project, we're moving into budget season, so we're going to have to act quickly. This project will require an architect or an engineer to assist with the design and development, as well as the cost. Once determined, we'll have to develop the bid specifications and get it sent from there. We will advertise those bids for 3 weeks. During that time, we'll have a pre-bid meeting and site tours. The architect and engineer can handle all the questions from the contractors and release the addendums. They also participate in the bid opening and other representations from the school board. I've reached out to Farmers Bank, youth football, and the varsity football boosters. All three are willing to participate and help out with the funding of this project, but we're not really sure exactly how much at this time. In these meetings, we discussed the scope of the grant. I also attended a Highmark grant meeting Friday afternoon. And in that meeting, we discussed the scope of the grant and discussed specifics with that. It's a $5,000 grant, but it will not, it cannot be used for football field and upgrades or treadmills. They're more set up for like the Obeas bowling and such. So I wanted to present that to the school board and get any kind of feedback if we want to start moving. Just keep in mind that if we do advertise and get architects or even engineers in here, there will have to be a upfront cost associated with that. And depending on the scope of that project will dictate how long it will take. If we're thinking about maybe just resodding the field and laying down some kind of turf or such, then we'll be able to play on the field a lot quicker. If we're looking at a total renovation, the football field may be off limits for an entire season. I didn't know if the school board wanted to think about that, if there was any kind of insight or input at this time to give me direction. I'm kind of at a standstill at this particular time.
David, do we have the cost from when we looked at this several years ago? Do we have an estimate from that?
No, I don't have anything. When Dr. Luke Savage did have the architect come in, they had a large scope project that they reviewed, including the gymnasium, locker room updates and such. And it wasn't necessarily broken down into that. So the cost right now, I'm not really sure. There are a couple local schools that did some upgrades. I've been in contact with their superintendents, but I don't have any cost right now, Kelly.
Okay, thank you. So there'll be, even if there's a cost involved just to decide what we want to do. I mean, at least to get an architect or an engineer in and work us up a plan and determine what kind of cost we're going to have for the whole project is going to cost up front.
Yes, correct.
Do we have any idea of an architect or engineer cost from previous projects? I'm thinking it's around 25,000 usually.
Yeah, I think that's what we paid when Dr. Lucas Savage had somebody come in a while back. And again, keep in mind that was a larger project as well. I know Dr. Jordan had talked to James Best about it as well. And James had some ideas, but he doesn't have the equipment or the manpower to do it. That could be one angle, but to really do it correctly, to get the bids, get the specs out there and advertise, I feel as if we do need an architect. I was provided with some names. I could make some phone calls around and get back to the school board.
Whenever you get in contact with the architect or the engineer, is there any way we could get a cost for redoing the whole entire field and then a cost for just resodding it too?
Yeah, for sure.
So what are your thoughts, board? Do you want David to get us a temporary cost for an architect or, an estimate so we know whether we...
Yeah, this is Jameen. We should get some ideas on what our upfront costs are going to be. Well, that's a shame that it's that much money when that could be put towards the project. But let's get an idea of how much we would have to pay to start the process.
I'll get moving on that. Yep, and report back. Go ahead, Carrie.
No, I was agreeing with Jameen. I think, this is something that is overdue, in my opinion. I think it's definitely something that needs addressed. And I think, we need to work towards taking steps to get it corrected and doing it the right way, not putting a Band-Aid on it. I think we really need to add this to our list of must-haves, as we progress into budget season.
I'll start working on it and we'll report back. Just keep in mind that we just went through the audit report. We took a look at those fund balances and the decrease that we've been seeing. So it's just something to be cautious about as we move forward, but I'll continue to work on that project. Moving down through, just a couple updates. The marching band, I've been working with Dr. DeTulio, and he's been trying to rebuild the band back up. He'd like to add some additional support, which would be paid for through the AC Valley Band Boosters. He had a number of paid percussion and band front positions in the past that had helped out. He's working to reestablish a marching band program. He has done a survey. He said right now we have roughly 25 students that are looking to coming out for marching band next year. And he will be working with the 6th grade band instructor as well to get down and to meet with the band students. In addition to that, we did have a Act 80 day today, and it was virtual due to the inclement weather that we had. We had a number of different sessions. We had a snap and read for a number of teachers, and just keep in mind this was a program that provides tools and supports reading and organizing information for the students. There's a co-writer which uses grammar, vocabulary, and word prediction that helps to support students that are struggling to read. We also have a Simple K program that is online learning resources. So we had a one-stop shop for the staff to work their way through a variety of different workshops. There was one for self-care for teachers, math and science for learning loss, reading and writing for learning loss, and the list goes on. In addition to that, we brought down Dr. Reed, and she worked with the staff for the second day of the year, and she's a behavioral expert, and she had an open session up at the high school as well as several sessions at the elementary. In addition to that, we did have Trevor Howe put together a math help session for the teachers that Lori had talked about earlier. And then I'd like to thank Aaron, Marcy, and Jamie for their ELA support at the elementary. RJ Fight helped with videos on demand up at the high school. And then we also had Jen Stover, Peggy Plowman, and Tracy Hartle help out with special education and IEP questions. So the feedback that I got today was all positive. It was the first virtual learning day that we had at AC Valley. So I appreciate all the help and support from the technology department as well. With that being said, we are starting tomorrow with a 2-hour delay. I sent out a message to the community. I will continue to monitor the weather. We do have a lot of snow and there's a lot of drifting going on right now. So I'll be up early tomorrow and ensure that everybody's safe coming into school. And I'm going to finish off with a few legislative updates. Just keep in mind, since we met last, there was a PA Supreme Court decision that from the 3 branches to mask or not to mask, and the Secretary of Health masking order was removed. The governor was disappointed, but he does believe that the health and safety plans in the school districts are working. There's additional bills that are being discussed right now. House Bill 1332 requires all school districts to post online curriculum, textbooks, and instructional strategies. It was passed down party lines, but it got to the governor's desk and was vetoed. There's also House Bill 412 that provides short-term state requirements for employing substitute teachers. So they've understood the fact that we're limited with the number of subs that we have. So we're able to bring back retired teachers. We're able to use college graduates that have 60 credits or more, and we can use day-to-day subs in uncertified areas for up to 20 days. So it does help a little bit. It's still not the fix that we're looking for at this time, but anything will help. Good news to report on the special education funding. There was a funding formula that was created in 2014, and it was weighted on student needs. This formula is going to be reviewed, and there will be recommendations made in the future. And if anybody was on the PSBA e-blast today, they've seen that Eugene DePasquale was the key speaker, and he talked about the struggles that he had even as the Auditor General with the cost associated with cyber school cost. So he will be working with PSBA, PDE, and investigating those costs. So hopefully we'll have some changes in cyber cost in the near future. And Corey, that concludes my report for now.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a couple motions here. Consideration to approve the following student board representatives for the 2021-2022 school year. Grace Barlett, grade 10, Drew Whitcomb, grade 11, and an alternate, Caden McNanny, grade 10. So moved.
Brady, second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. David, are they with us this evening?
No, Dr. Jordan had contacted them earlier today and told them to stay at home. And then we had discussed it and we didn't invite them into a meeting tonight. So
Okay.
they'll be here in February.
Great, thank you.
All right, consideration to approve the 2021-2022 school year Allegheny Clarion Valley School District Health and Safety Plan as attached. So moved.
It's Brady. I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
All right, district enrollment numbers were attached in our packets. And David, I assume we do not have a school police report.
No, he submitted a report to Tammy, but it's sitting on her desk. He did not attend today because of the day off.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
We can now.
We can now.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I came up to safe driving mode and I'm sitting in a chair, so I'm not sure what my phone is doing. We're gonna move on to to policy. Jameen, could you do policy for us?
Sure. Can I lump them all together?
Yes.
Okay, since they're all first readings. Okay. Item A, consideration to approve the first reading of policy number 610, purchases subject to bid/quotation as attached. Item B, consideration to approve the first reading of policy number 611, purchases budgeted as attached. And item C, consideration to approve the first reading of policy number 626, attachment procurement, federal programs as attached. So moved.
Carrie, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, do we have a facilities report tonight?
Now, I'd just like to thank the maintenance staff for the work that they put in today. They worked from early in the morning until just about 4 o'clock, and they'll be back in tomorrow morning as well, cleaning snow and brushing off the sidewalks.
Okay, tell them we appreciate all their hard work. All right, we'll move on to transportation at this time. Carrie, could you do transportation?
Sure. Letter A, consideration to retroactively approve Brian Brewer, effective January 4th, 2022, as a substitute driver for Bailey Busing. So moved.
Diane, second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter B, consideration to approve the request from Pam Myers Transportation Incorporated, dated January 3rd, 2022, to add a 2014 Honda CRV and remove a 2012 Chrysler van from her fleet. So moved.
Second, Diane.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
And finally, letter C, consideration to approve the contract between the AC Valley School District and Pam Myers Transportation Incorporated, dated January 17th, 2022, for a 2014 Honda CRV as attached. So moved.
Second, Diane.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, we will move on to miscellaneous. Do we have a Career Center report?
Yeah, this is Corey. Not too much is going on. The biggest thing is the next item, which is the Articles of Agreement, as well as she is looking for a long-term sub to fill the auto mechanics position. We just got an email today that the candidate that we had approved declined the offer, so now she's just searching again for a long-term sub for that position. But other than that, nothing really major.
We had 5 new members come from the sending schools. Because that was December, right, Corey? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jill Foys is now our board president. What was his name? Joe Bellotti was not put back on the Career Center board from CL, so that left that position open. So we're very glad to have Jill being our leader. She's the executive director of the Northwest Planning Commission, I believe. So I think that'll be a good change there too.
Okay, thanks. Brady, would you like to take us through those next 3 items?
Sure. Discussion related to the proposed 6th Amendment and restated Articles of Agreement as attached. So moved.
Second, this is Corey.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Corey, could you
Are we just
explain?
discussing? Are we just discussing this? I don't know what we're voting on.
Corey, were we supposed to vote on this or are we just supposed to
Yeah,
discuss it tonight?
Yes, we were supposed to vote on it.
Oh, okay, because I thought I was under the impression that that we were just to discuss it. It wasn't to be, but I could be wrong. It got confusing.
Yeah, I thought we were voting that way it can get approved, and just with budget season and stuff coming up for the Career Center.
And we
Okay.
do need a roll call vote so that we can track the number of votes that we have.
Correct. Yep.
And Corey, do
So-
you want to explain anything other than what we talked about last week?
Well, I did just get the her 5-year plan. I could send that out to you guys. I know it's kind of late now. I did just get it today, later this afternoon. If you guys wanted me to go over a few of those topics, I could, as to what we're kind of intended to use that subsidy money for. I can certainly do that.
Does anybody have any questions about that, or you're okay with him just sending it out to us? Sounds like we're good with you sending it out, Corey.
All right, yep, I'll get it emailed out to everyone. Just to highlight a few things, a lot of the, like the year 1 plan, a lot of security things, getting a secure visitor entrance, updating the camera system, security systems, and then trying to add a locker room, kind of in the heavy shop side of the building. They don't have a female locker room, so they're currently using kind of a makeshift bathroom / locker room, which isn't ideal. So they're wanting to do some of those updates.
They were actually using the public bathroom for the girls to change for the heavy shops. So that's a real high priority.
Yeah. And then the rest, a lot of updates, just trying to get the building up to date. Some minor cosmetic stuff, as well as some major updates, just to, like I said, keep the building going. That way there's no major problems that arise.
Okay. So at this time, Brady, would you like to make a new motion that we can vote on this amended article of agreement?
I move to vote on the amended Article of Agreement.
Second, this is Corey.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We have had discussion. So we're going to take a roll call vote at this point. Tammy?
Carrie Armagost,
Aye.
Megan Dreher,
Aye.
Brady Fight,
Aye.
Diane Page,
Aye.
Jeff Powell, I know Jeff, you're on there. Maybe you're muted. Corey Sherman,
Aye.
Janine Stump,
Aye.
Eric Sundling,
Aye.
and Kelly Trubilliger.
Aye.
Now I have the ballots that you guys were going to be needing to sign tonight. Is it okay if I just sign your name and put my initials, or should I just check and see what they need me to do up there?
I'm fine with that, Tammy, if you can do that.
Yeah, I get, maybe check and see if they're okay with
Yeah, I was
that,
gonna
Tammy.
say, check with Tracy to be sure. If
All right, I'll
she's
do
all
that.
right with that, I'm all right with it, but
All right, thanks.
Okay, we're ready to move on.
Okay,
Brady?
these next two things, are we voting on these or are we just talking about them?
No, we just talk about it, basically.
Okay. A copy of the Clarion County Career Center Joint Operating Committee reorganization meeting minutes for the December 21st, 2021 meeting are attached.
Okay, we've kind of already discussed that with our two representatives.
Okay, and a copy of the unapproved, a copy of the unapproved Clarion County Career Center Joint Operating Committee December 21st, 2021 meeting minutes are attached. Content will be reviewed and approved at the January 24th, 2022 JOC meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Would you go ahead and call for the intermediate unit report? Brady?
Sorry, I was muted. Intermediate unit report, a copy of the December 15th, 2021 RIU 6 board notes are attached.
So
Okay.
I'll jump in here, Kelly. I did attend the IU board meeting in December. That was basically their reorganization meeting as well. I think there were 5 of us sworn in that night, so they did have a dinner for us. It was an in-person meeting. Not a whole lot to note. I mean, mainly, we did approve some upgrades, as far as facilities and maintenance type of upgrades. We also voted to increase the substitute paraprofessional rate. I know, just like all of the districts, everyone's struggling to get and maintain and keep substitutes. We did break into an executive session, and I believe that our executive session probably lasted longer than the meeting itself, but no other major issues to note. I believe our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 26th. And that's about it.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, so at this point, are any correspondence we need to know about?
Nope.
Okay, we have not had a technology committee meeting recently. How about an athletic committee update?
We didn't have one this month.
Okay. Finance committee?
No meeting yet.
Okay. And I have to apologize because I did not do the roll call vote when we talked about the professional contract. David, do you think we need to do that, or because we were all in favor, we're okay with that?
No, we're okay since we were all in favor and we didn't have any no's.
Okay, thank you. I totally got rolling there and forgot that we were going to do that. So thank you.
Not a problem.
Any old business? Any new business? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Just a reminder that we are having an executive session. Tammy, if you will put that in the notes.
One other thing, Kelly, the motion, there was no motion to approve the minutes from the November 15th voting meeting and the December 1st reorganizational meeting in the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, and that's probably my fault because I don't have that on my list. So we need to go back and do that. Would somebody make a motion?
This is Corey. I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Corey. Do we have a second?
Carrie, I'll second.
Any discussion or any changes, questions about those two sections of minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thanks, Tammy, for reminding us of that. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Carrie. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting and go to executive session.
This is Brady. I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for putting up with my electric being out and trying to struggle through this on my phone, and for doing a good job. So thank you, and we will be adjourning the meeting to go to executive session. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.